Folks, this is when we talk about Compas on the beat, we talk about our Compas. This is legit one of our Compas, NFL Network's Omar Ruiz. He wins
Ruiz.
Ruiz. He wins best dressed every single year. Every single year. Omar, I love the fit, like the kids say. That's a great outfit. I love the pink on the blue with a little bit of a pink tie, and then obviously you had the handkerchief. But Omar, how are you doing?
I'm good. This is my NFL honors preview, so I'll have the suit bottom tonight. Working that red carpet. One of my favorite events. So you caught me on a Thursday, so you get the proper fit here.
No, we saw you on Monday. You were dressed to the nines as well. So you can't escape with that one.
Yeah.
Oh my, those are Hall of Fame colors though. That jacket, you're in the Compas
I
on the beat
forgot
Hall
about
of Fame.
that. You know, somebody said, I forget. I wore this last time, and when I was in studio, and somebody else made that comment. I totally forgot about that. But yeah, we're gonna find out who makes the Hall of Fame tonight.
Speaking of that, who do you think is one big snub that we're going to see from the Hall of Fame?
Oh, I don't want to say, who's going to be a snub, but I think
it's a hard class.
Yeah, it is a hard class. I'm going to say somebody that I covered that I think is a Hall of Famer is Patrick Willis. And I think someone like him may be a snub. I think typically a player of his stature, all the All-Pros, all the Pro Bowls, the impact he made, I think he eventually gets in. But he's one of those players where you hear the argument against him is that his career maybe wasn't long enough. It seems like the players who did get in after a shorter career, Terrell Davis, Kurt Warner, they had Super Bowl rings attached to them. Patrick Willis does not. So I think that, if you're looking for a snub, that might be it. For tonight, but eventually I think he gets in.
I think
because he deserves it.
I think Antonio Gates might be one
for a snub. You really?
I think so.
I think he gets in.
I think it'll be. I think it's gonna. I think with all the other names that I saw, I wonder if he gets in because I think I saw the Chicago Bears website posted that Devin Hester and Julius Peppers are in. So then I started looking at that list and I'm like, you have Dwight Freeney, Super Bowl ring, all the sacks. Then you had other guys that Gilbert and I were trying to discuss it, and I'm like, I wonder if Gates might get snubbed. You just never know with these things.
I just think he was so transcendent. I mean, he has the numbers, of course, but so transcendent with the whole basketball at a tight end that Jimmy Graham eventually followed, and so many others throughout the years now that it changed the game. No. And even Travis Kelce was a noted basketball player in high school, and Antonio Gates was the first noted in that regard to do it, and not only was a trailblazer because of that, but just sheer numbers and domination and the connection that he had with Phillip Rivers with the toe injury, and the legendary, not able to practice but showed up on Sundays, lit it up with Rivers, and it's been kind of neat to see them get their propers as Brady and Gronkowski sort of passed them, and you sort of appreciated the numbers that Rivers and Gates put up, and then similarly as Mahomes and Kelce have passed them as well. You kind of see, where they put things, and obviously they played in an era before everything was tilted to the pass game and still did what they did. So not only transcended the position and elevated it to the athleticism that we see now, but the connection with the tight end being that security blanket. I think that also, was a reason why that he gets into the Hall of Fame, like I said, because of the production in addition to the trailblazing factor.
Omar, going off of tight ends, and you mentioned that you covered Patrick Willis very closely. George Kittle, how fun is it to talk to that guy and cover him, on a regular basis?
He's awesome, and I'll tell you the story about George Kittle. It was his first Pro Bowl after the 2018 season in Orlando, and the Niners weren't good yet, so he wasn't a star yet. He was obviously. He put up good numbers that year, his second year in the NFL, but then the Niners were coming off that first year where they went 5-11 with Kyle Shanahan's first year, and then the next year Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt the third game of the season, and they have another poor record. But George Kittle, like I said, put up those numbers. He makes the Pro Bowl, but nobody knew who he was yet. He was there after practice, but he always, he always seemed like he had a good personality. And so I was like, we got to have this guy on his show. And my thing at the Pro Bowls when I covered them was, let me try to find these guys that aren't huge superstars yet that I could just go up to them and say, hey, you want to be on our show, NFL Network, either a taping for Good Morning Football or live for NFL Total Access. So over the years, it was like Darius Leonard when he was shining for the Colts and first splashed on the scene. Not a household name, but you can see he's going to be a star. We were able to get Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward their rookie years, and so it's a similar story with George Kittle. So I'm out there. He's signing every autograph. The last player off of the field for the NFC, he literally signs every autograph. So I'm sitting there for an hour talking to his girlfriend, now his wife, talking to his parents, and we're just shooting the breeze. And he takes the time to sign every one. And then finally I say, hey, George, just want to see if you want to come on the show. And he's like, yeah, of course. All that to say, he just gets it. He gets what the connection to the fans means. He gets it dealing with the media. He gets it that football is a form of entertainment, and he plays that up. Obviously, the connection to wrestling and the things that he's put in his career that way. And so his wit, his humor, his charm is all always on display. In addition to being a great football player, like Kyle Shanahan said the other day, you can't get away with that unless you're great at football. And so he's that too. So to answer your question, what I thought was cool was when I interviewed him after the NFC Championship game. He was the first interview we did. Maybe we got Debo first, but he starts it off by saying, "They had us in the first half, not going to lie." And then so I started chuckling, and I called him on it, and he had a big laugh. We had a big laugh about it. Turned to find out that NFL Films caught him in the first half telling Brock Purdy, "I can't wait to say, hey, they had us in the first half, not going to lie. We're going to come back and win this game." And sure enough, in my interview, that's where he said for the first time, and he said it again on the stage, but in our interview, he said that and actually executed what he had talked about Purdy with in the first half.
Yeah, that was so awesome when the NFL Films caught the audio, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna believe in this team." And that's why he's a captain on the roster, right? He's a great player, but that positivity and the energy. And sometimes when people are super upbeat, it's kind of annoying. But he has like this nice fine balance. But you know what? Hey, it's okay. Make some jokes, kind of even keel. And I don't know, maybe it's like a random thought, but like, is he somewhat like a Michael Strahan, like just that, personable and just so radiant with positivity?
Yeah, because he's genuine. He's genuine about it, and that's why it's not annoying. And I think, and just learning more about his family, his dad is like a mental health coach, and, is very dialed in with, just people skills, essentially, at the end of the day. And relating to people is something that, George Kittle is a strength, and that makes him a leader. And the way he communicates is through humor, and he's unafraid to, even in the most dire of situations, bring that humor. And you guys have seen him look at the sky cam and make jokes with that in the huddle and all that. So to have somebody like that in Brock Purdy's corner in dire circumstances in the biggest game of Purdy's life, to kind of bring that levity and have him, stay focused and keep grinding through was huge. And we saw how the 49ers responded, and a lot of it was because of Kittle and just kind of having him hang in there.
Omar, I was told by somebody close to you that after Kittle is retired, you're going to be covering his second career. You're going to be going and covering his wrestling career when he's out there in the ring. But how awesome would that be, though?
Oh, that'd be amazing. McAfee dabbles in that, and obviously Kittle has embraced that, and the luchadores, and the mask that he wears.
And you have guys like The Rock who first tried football, it didn't work out, then they move into I feel like we're going to get more and more athletes like that if, hey, maybe football doesn't work out, let's go try something else. And I feel like wrestling is kind of, you have to have that. I'm surprised Richard Sherman didn't jump into something like that with the personality he has.
Yeah, that'd be funny to see how connected those two become, especially with The Rock now being more involved, really with both. With the minor league football team that he's associated with, and now being kind of more of a hand in wrestling. So it'll be interesting, especially like we just talked about with Kittle, just getting it, the entertainment factor. Those guys that can do that, seems like they can translate pretty easily there.
Does it feel like because of the two games and the way they came back in both games, kind of feels like this team is a little, there's always, the way you kind of see the playoffs happen, you're like, one team kind of seems like it's destined for something. It kind of feels like the 49ers. I mean, obviously the Chiefs, but I see this as redemption versus legacy. Obviously the Chiefs are the legacy, these guys are the redemption. But does it kind of feel like the San Francisco 49ers are kind of a team with destiny? I mean, especially with everything that they've kind of gone through this year, the question, hey, we're thinking about bringing in Tom Brady to replace Brock Purdy, all that stuff. Does that, like, do you kind of get that sense?
Yeah, if this definitely feels like a different team, and they proved it, especially when you consider that, the Shanahan team had never come back from a fourth quarter deficit of more than 5 points, or, the graphic that they kept showing in the Packers game, and then they did it. And then they did it again. It wasn't necessarily the fourth quarter, but it was a second half 17-point deficit that they came back to win, which they hadn't done. And so the fact that they were able to, and I think that's especially important when you consider the Shanahan 49ers history, and even Shanahan himself, going back to the 28-3 offensive coordinator days in Super Bowl 51, and blowing that lead, blowing the 10-point late fourth quarter lead against the Chiefs in Super Bowl 54, blowing the 10-point fourth quarter lead against the Rams in the 2021 NFC Championship game, having a dropped interception ultimately cost them a shot in that Super Bowl. So for them to not just not blow leads, but to come back from double digits in the second half, 2 games in a row when they hadn't done it all year, I think speaks to that, team of destiny possibility. But Patrick Mahomes is the ultimate assassin. He doesn't care about your storylines. He doesn't care about anything like that. That guy is just coming to play. And, the 49ers will have to be at their best. They can't have these first half lapses against the Chiefs like they did against the Packers and Lions. They'll need to play at their best, which I think they will. Now, will that be good enough to beat Patrick Mahomes at his best? We'll find out.
All right, Omar, I want to ask about you. How does a week, a Super Bowl week for you look like? I'm guessing you're grinding, working all day, 12-hour shift, whatever it is. How does that week look for you when you're doing a bunch of hosting and TV for NFL Network?
Yeah, it's this is the first time. I've typically done Good Morning Football for a lot of the week and Super Bowl week, but this is the first time it's in the Pacific time zone. And I'll tell you what, last year in Arizona, it's the mountain time zone for the winter in Arizona. I'm telling you, 5 a.m. and 4 a.m., it's a huge, huge difference. And so getting up at 2:30 every morning, it's a challenge, just honest about it. But the adrenaline, the caffeine, this is why we do this year round. It's for the Super Bowl. And so it's the 49ers and the Chiefs Super Bowl. It's our Super Bowl too. You guys come here and do all this because of this event. And so you feel very fortunate to be able to be in this position. So, I try to be as bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 4 in the morning as much as possible. Thankfully, I was able to find a 24-hour Starbucks that had a drive-through. So I'm able to stop and hit that out on my way to the 49ers hotel every morning. So I'm highly caffeinated. But then, it's also reunion. I get to see you guys. I get to see people from all over the NFL that I've become friends with over the years. So, that aspect is exciting and fun. And having it in a place like Vegas, I was able to go see U2 last night at the Sphere. Wow. And that was an awesome show. And so, you kind of try to mix in the fun. Obviously, you stay focused on the job and getting your interviews and the material that you need to do your job at the best of your ability. But it's also a fun social event as well.
I'm curious, how was that experience at the Sphere with U2?
Unbelievable. Like, truly an experience that you guys ever been to an IMAX movie at one of those science centers and they show you in outer space in the IMAX? It's like that, but even like times 10, because it's like a 3D experience of that huge thing. And then plus you have U2 playing, their hit song. So it was really cool. And it was my buddy flew in town. It was his birthday. So it was, that was the idea to go there. So it was worth, the 2 hour sleep that I got last night.
I heard some guy climbed it too. Like he was on top of this, like he climbed the Sphere.
Yeah, Mission Impossible style. Huh? Did he have suction cups or what? Like how the heck do you do that?
Yeah, I don't know how he did it, but I saw I saw multiple videos, and I'm like, how do you First off, why do you do it? But how do you do it also? But one guy that I remember we've spoken about before that you've always raved about, Kobe Bryant. Obviously he passed and everything, but just what did the Kobe mean to you? Like obviously growing up and everything.
Oh, diehard Laker fan. He meant everything from an entertainer standpoint. And just, as I got to be a professional and you kind of learn the Mamba mentality just like everybody else. And, the ganas that we, always talk about is very similar, just the desire and to work. And then everything else kind of follows in that regard. So you kind of appreciate his work ethic and everything that he was about. And then, later in life, like Kobe and I are 4 months apart in age, wow. Same high school class. So, different junctures in our life. kind of met very similarly. And then he started to have kids. He had all girls, just like I have all girls. And he named his kids, because his wife's Mexican, and
He
so
grew up in Italy.
yeah, he grew up in Italy. So, but all of his girls' names are ones that you could say in Spanish, like ours, like Isabella, Aviana, Livia. Those are mine, and his are very similar. So just down to those little details, I just felt like I could relate to him. Obviously, way different, but that's how I felt. And so, and then I finally met him because his studios were there right next to the Chargers facility, covering the Chargers in the playoffs in the 2018 season. Happened to be using the bathroom right there next to the media room, and here he comes. I'm like, holy, and so that was like one of the. I always said, because I had interviewed Tom Brady at that point before, and just all these superstars in the sports world, having worked in local news before, and you cover all the sports. Tiger Woods, I'd interviewed and everything, but that was the first time I had ever met Kobe Bryant. So just to talk to him about, he was talking about his Eagles, I think had just won the double doink game against Chicago in that 2018 playoffs, and we're getting ready to go to New Orleans, which they were, I think, a late drop pass away from winning that game. And New Orleans ended up losing to the Rams in the NFC Championship game that year. But anyway, just talking football with him and all that, and how he was personable and likable in that just short little interaction, because you always hear about you don't want to meet your heroes because, they could be jerks or whatever. But, he was just so kind of warm and open, talking ball like that. And just, it was just so cool. And then obviously, as cool as that was, it was as devastating. And for me, like, I was at the Pro Bowl when it happened, and it's just a surreal experience interviewing the NFL players, from Devontae Adams to Keenan Allen to Pete Carroll, people that had relationships with him. And we're doing these interviews, which never happens, but it was such a, transcendent moment in sports history that we're doing these interviews on the sidelines of the Pro Bowl, because we're not the broadcast partner, like ESPN or ABC, whoever was actually airing the game. Of course, they have their sideline reporter on doing the interviews, but there we were NFL Network news gathering on it, and that was, so I didn't really process it, his death, because we go straight from the Pro Bowl, then I drive down to Miami the next day for the Super Bowl, and then you're kind of working, all week long, just like we just described, my crazy weeks here, and then it didn't hit me till we get to the Combine, and I get to my hotel. And I remember, that's when the memorial was happening a couple weeks later, and then just hit me like a ton of bricks. And, so whenever the anniversary comes up, it's just, and then you think about, Gianna was in the helicopter with him. It's just.
That's where I actually met Kobe as well. Those bathrooms at Costa Mesa.
I gotta say, Fernando, because I don't know if I told Omar this story, because I remember when you said 2018, I'm like, okay, that's the same year I got to the Chargers beat for the first year. And I think you walked into the media center at the Chargers headquarters, like, I just met Kobe in the bathroom.
Oh, you remember that? That happened? Yeah.
And then I tell Fernando, I want to meet Kobe in the bathroom. I'm like, wait, that sounds weird. I don't know why I said that, but yeah, I saw him walk in to greet. Was it Shelly Smith?
Yeah, Shelly Smith.
Like, he was like, I looked to my left. I'm like, holy. Like, I don't get starstruck. So
I
didn't want to go interrupt. I'm like, that was good enough for me. So I saw him in the media center. So I remember telling Fernando that when you said that, you were so excited. And I think you might have had like the maybe it was you, I forget. But one of you were wearing the Kobe shoes that day, so I know you guys are both fans.
It's probably Fernando. Yeah.
Okay.
No, but I look. So I'm like, it's 7. I showed up early. It was 7 in the morning. I'm there. I'm in the urinal, and I just see a big figure. The place was empty. Weird, yeah. The place was empty. The urinal next to me, somebody comes in. I'm like, oh, I wonder who's here this early. And I just see somebody standing there. I'm like, wow, this guy's tall. And then I like look over, and then I go, holy shit, I'm pissing next to Kobe Bryant. And Kobe just starts laughing.
Well, you said that out loud?
I go, I'm pissing next to Kobe. And Kobe just starts laughing. He's like, bro, wash your hands, chill out, go outside, and I'll talk to you. I'm like, all right. And I'm like, and then I go over, and I'm like, hey, bro, I'm being honest. I'm very professional when it comes to a lot of people. Like Cristiano Ronaldo, I geek out after. But then Kobe Bryant, so I geeked out, and he starts laughing. He's like, I'm so glad I met you. I'm like, oh my God, Kobe just said he's glad he met me. I'm like, and we were actually talking about the World Cup around that time. So he was telling me who his favorites were. I told him some of mine, and we kind of got into an argument about Messi over Cristiano Ronaldo, but just a great human being. And he told me, he's like, I want you to challenge yourself. Every year, challenge yourself and think about what the next move is. and he just an awesome
It's
person.
unbelievable. It's funny you mentioned that though, because I remember I was washing my hands, and I see him in the mirror go to the urinal, and that's when I was like, and I didn't want to like just hang out there in the bathroom, so like I walked slowly out the bathroom. I walk slowly to the water. I take a slow drink. Do. Take another drink. And then he finally comes out. I'm like, oh, hey, fancy meeting you here.
Exactly. Like, yeah, Kobe. Yeah. But, Omar, we are
I was going to say one thing. I tried that method when The Rock was over there. And Fernando was like, it's not going to work. He's going to stick around for a minute. I was like, all right, I got to get over here. But that's a good approach. So.
The Rock was over there on the Pat McAfee show, and he's like, hey, are you cool co-hosting the rest of until 11 o'clock? And then he's like, oh, yeah. And Gilbert and I had interviews to come and do, so we're like, dang it, all right, cool. And, like, we came back or whatever. But yeah, no, that's we have to leave it there with Kobe. But Omar, thank you so much.
You're welcome
for jumping on with us. Hopefully, this upcoming week is it gets a little bit easier for you. Even though we all
it's
know
all downhill from here. Yeah,
exactly. But Omar, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you guys.